continuing to follow these, a lot of questions over proposed cuts to NOAA. So we're hearing from some lawmakers, some of Florida's congressional delegation, talking about their concerns about that. All of this as the new nominee for the administrator of NOAA is testifying on Capitol Hill right now in his confirmation hearing. So a little bit of a split screen going on right now, and obviously something we watch closely when it comes to being right in the middle of a hurricane season here in Florida. So we'll have updates on that and a whole lot more coming up on Fox 35 News Plus at 11 on Fox Local.
All right, good stuff. Garrett Weinberg, thank you.
See you, Garrett.
Thank you.
Well, it's not cheddar, but it did take a lot of cheddar to buy it. The world's most expensive cheese sold at auction for more than $42,000. The Cabrales cheese, which is a type of blue cheese, was aged in a cave for 10 months before it won top marks in Spain. Look at that. It was made by Angel Diaz Herrero Cheese Factory, which won the title of best cheese of the competition. After it won, it was put up on the auction block. There were 40 bids, and a cheese-loving guy named Ivan Suarez is now its proud owner. Did we say how much? Oh, $42,000.
I don't know that I've ever heard of something like that where you pay that much. I'm sure the cheese is amazing.
I think
but what
cheese,
constitutes $42,000?
It's perfectly aged, like a fine wine. But blue cheese is controversial. Do you like it?
I do.
You do?
On certain things, yeah.
No?
Wouldn't be my first pick.
No.
I love blue cheese.
Yeah.
You do?
It's like my favorite. Like if I go to a restaurant, they're like, what do you want for your dressing? Blue cheese.
So what do you think this guy would do with that? You spend $42,000, you have the fancy, do you have people over and eat it? I mean, what do you do?
Put it in a frame on your wall? I'm not sure.
A really nice salad or a charcuterie board.
You would have quite the salad for sure.
It looked very stinky.
All right, should we do one more story?
Yeah.
What do you think? All right, one more it is. There are known benefits to raising children near their grandparents. There's new data from Cornell University. They found nearly half of grandchildren in the U.S. now live within 10 miles of a grandparent. That's kind of shocking. Many live even closer. About 20% live 1 and 5 miles between an equal number. 13% also live within a mile and 500 miles or more away. Maternal grandparents, they're more likely to live near their grandchildren. No surprise, the study found that when grandparents live closer, they spend more time together. There's a little difference, though, in the financial support that grandparents provide where they are likely close or far away. We also are seeing, for sure, more grandparents raising kids than we did years ago.
That's so true. Yeah, for me, growing up, my grandparents all lived far away, but now, for my kids, they all live close, which is great. They love it. Yeah, it's fabulous.
We just have an hour Allegiant flight from Key West to Orlando now, so my mom has probably been here, I don't know, 5 or 6 times since I moved to Orlando.
Short flights. Good stuff. Ladies, we're out of time.
We're out of time.
Thanks for joining us out there.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning live on Fox Local and on YouTube. The story of the morning is weather. I am showing you three different news conferences, two of which are kind of underway right now, one of which we're waiting to begin. The large picture is in Kerrville, Texas, where we know it bared the brunt of terrible and devastating flooding over July 4th weekend there. We know more than 100 people have died in flooding in Texas, and there are a lot of questions about where things go from here as recovery efforts continue, still resources pouring into that area. We expect an update from Kerrville officials in just a minute. On the bottom left, you see Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and some other officials as well talking about their concerns about proposed cuts to NOAA, facilities, to research divisions, to staffing, things that are in proposals for fiscal year 2026. And so Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a couple of other of Florida's congressional delegation, Democrats, Lois Frankel and Sheila Cherfilis McCormick, have been speaking out about that, joined by some former scientists at NOAA. Meanwhile, if you look at the top left, this is a confirmation hearing going on live right now on Capitol Hill. That is where there are three people, including Neil Jacobs, who is on the left. You're looking at Taylor Jordan right now, and then on the right there is Harry Kumar. They are officials who have been nominated for undersecretary and assistant secretary positions with NOAA. And so they are being asked about the importance of early warnings and notifications, and also have been asked a number of questions about these cuts that some worry could threaten the mission of NOAA. But let's go ahead and listen in here at the beginning of this briefing in Kerrville as it gets underway, and then we'll take you to Capitol Hill after that.
During her
5 campers and 1 counselor. Officials report there are 161 missing people in Kerr County area. Community members are asked not to conduct debris management of their property until directed by law enforcement. There is also a no burn ban in Kerr County at this time till further notice. Let me give you a visual. I know probably all of y'all have been in our community capturing the aftermath of this disaster. But with that said, also take note that Kerr County is 1,100 square miles of beautiful but complex hill country. There are rural areas that may experience extended response times, areas where cell service is spotty, where the area is single-lane bridges and low water crossings. Sometimes evacuations is not the safest. Sometimes it's better to shelter in place. The hill country is not a one-size-fits-all place. First responders from emergency services throughout Kerr County promptly responded to the recent emergency as the situation unfolded. As with other significant events that are emergencies services encounter, this incident will be reviewed. You have my word. When or if necessary, if improvements need to be made, improvements will be made. What I'd like to do right now is kind of give you a breakdown. You know, I believe the latest report I had, we have 2,100 people out here at some capacity on this incident. As far as Kerr County Sheriff's Office right now, what our office is currently doing, it's an all hands on deck. Everybody we got are out here, but also we have an additional 2,000 plus people helping us. But as far as our patrol division, you know, right now they're involved in answering calls. Y'all have to remember, we still got day-to-day calls we have to handle. But they're also involved in different kinds of rescue and recovery efforts. My CID division, Criminal Investigation Division, is assisting with operations at the funeral home. They're also assisting with the identification process. My SOD division, Special Operations Division, is searching through heavy debris with heavy equipment. They're distributing assets with the Texas Game Wardens. They are also involved in recovery operations. Also, they're working with DPS special agents on all recovery processes. and with the volunteer fire departments. Our communications is overseeing the communication operation liaison with DPS also. Our emergency management, Doug Thomas, is in the EOC Center. Also with my chief, they're both in the EOC Center. At this time, I brought a couple of the guys. I was going to let Captain Jason Waldrop say a few words. Jason has been in the field, hands on deck this whole time. I hadn't been able to get out of here a lot. There's a lot to manage here. He's actually witnessed several things. He's kind of going to give you a few ideas and updates on what's going on in the field, where he's been and what he's been seeing. And then we'll turn it over to Sergeant Jack Lamb. Captain Jason Waldrop.
Nope. Go ahead. So the sheriff just wanted me to kind of give you all an update on some of the things that we as the sheriff department can do. One particular thing that we have done in order to help assist in locating the missing is we have coordinated a team with a local construction company, the Texas Department of Public Safety, some fire departments from within Kerr County, a fire department from Acuña, Mexico, and we are looking and searching the deeply impacted flood debris along the river. So these areas are where a lot of this debris is bottlenecked. So it's a lot of large trees, it's a lot of the vehicles, it's a lot of home structures have built up in these areas. So we are using very heavy equipment, excavators, skid loaders, to remove this material and do a deep impact search of where this is. So what we ask is for those who are out there working, the local residents, the families of the missing, even some of the search teams, if you see these very large excavators working, please avoid these areas. We are trying to control these work sites. We have spotters on the ground, so as this material is being removed, we are looking for anything of a sign of a person that may be within this material. These operators have very limited vision with these large excavators, so please avoid these areas that they're working. We are still spotting areas up and down the river where we can take apart these materials and hopefully locate some more of the missing. So that's one main thing that we've been doing along the river to help this process.
Sergeant Lamb.
Thank you. Morning. Jonathan Lamb, Kerrville Police Department. We want to remind folks that if you've reported a loved one missing and they've returned home safely or been found safely, it's vitally important that you let us know that that person is no longer among the missing. We need to keep an accurate count, as accurate as possible. So if you've reported somebody missing and they've been recovered safely, please let us know. Go to the website, Kerrville Missing.
Officials in Kerrville and in Kerr County, Texas, giving an update right now as they talk about the latest search efforts. You heard the gentleman before, the police sergeant here, talking about what all that entails, the heavy equipment they're using, trying to sift through just all of this debris that is left behind. All hands on deck, according to officials there in Texas, when it comes to this effort. 161 people still missing in Kerr County alone right now, according to investigators, as those recovery efforts continue. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this. When we do, we'll get you inside this NOAA hearing. We'll also hear from these lawmakers criticizing proposed budget cuts and staffing cuts to NOAA. So keep it right here on Fox Local and YouTube. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning live on Fox Local and on YouTube. I want to give you a live look inside the Senate Commerce Committee meeting right now. You are seeing on the left Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester, a Democrat from Delaware, who is talking with Harry Kumar. He is a nominee for Assistant Secretary with NOAA. You saw earlier Taylor Jordan, who is also nominated for Assistant Secretary. Neil Jacobs is the one who has been nominated for NOAA Administrator. All three of them are a part of this hearing right now, confirmation hearing, being asked a lot of questions about NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, ask about the impact of proposed cuts, ask about the importance of early warnings and notifications. I mean, this is a hearing. This is a committee, I should say, that is chaired by Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, who opened the hearing by talking about the flooding in Texas, the impact of it, and professing, a dedication to the importance of the mission of NOAA, the National Weather Service, a number of other things as well. So let's go ahead and listen in here as this confirmation hearing for these three individuals with NOAA continues this morning live on Capitol Hill.
Mislabeling. I have some questions for you, but what specific steps would you take to strengthen NOAA's efforts to combat seafood fraud? And what role should technology, traceability, and interagency enforcement play in the efforts?
Well, as far as technology goes, one of the things that I found pretty interesting is a lot of these vessels, and sometimes they're flagged under other nations, will be fishing in our EEZ. They'll turn off their transponders, come in, illegally fish in our waters, and then go back out. And we can actually see them on satellite imagery. So there's a way to trace them down, and working potentially with the Navy and the Coast Guard on this, I think would be great. As far as the actual import monitoring, one of the things that I've been interested in is actually doing genetic analysis on certain seafood products, because we can trace the origins of it then.
I want to end with something we discussed in my office, which was the Sea Grant program. I think it's a vitally important program, particularly for communities across this country, including U.S., Puerto Rico, Guam. It's one of those things that really helps the communities. You talked about the big data. If we have the data, but people don't understand how they can apply it and use it, how it could help with economic development, how it could help with resiliency and making sure that our communities are safe, it does us no good. And so in our meeting, I was pleased to hear you say, this program is awesome. Those were your words, awesome. And so I am imploring you to make sure that this program is protected, because again, it does so much for our local communities, for our business opportunities, and really to make sure that folks are safe. And so I thank you for that. I am actually going to yield back time myself, and I will follow up with additional questions. But I will now recognize Senator Capito.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here, for your willingness to serve. And I would like to start with Dr. Jacobs. Thank you again for our meeting yesterday and our previous meetings in past years. We talked about NOAA's Environmental Security Computing Center, NESCC, in Fairmont, West Virginia, at the Tech Park, in the I-79 Tech Park. And as you know, that center received $100 million for the high-performance computer called Rhea to support NOAA's widespread adoption of AI. The I-79 Tech Park in Fairmont is a unique asset for NOAA and the broader adoption of AI. The park houses the supercomputing operation with the high-performance computers named Hera and Rhea. I like that they're female names, but it's just me. And Rhea should be operational by 2020. I won't ask you to comment on that. Rhea will be operational in 2026. What is your vision? Obviously, we hear AI in every single aspect of testimony, no matter what we're talking about, whether it's finances or healthcare, whatever. And we see this also at NOAA. How do you feel? What is your vision for the institutionalization of AI at NOAA, and how would you use these assets that I've referenced?
Very much appreciate the question, and it's great to see that HPC finally get installed and operational, because the last time I was at NOAA, we actually got that half of that data center built out.
Right.
I think there's a lot of opportunity with AI, everywhere from like improving some stock assessments in fisheries to also in numerical weather prediction. So right now, there are AI-based models that just completely replicate the entire modeling system. They're trained on the physics-based models, so there's still a need to run the physics-based models, but there's also aspects of AI that can be used inside the physics-based models, where the AI systems replicate some of these physical algorithms. And the exciting thing to me is they can do it in a fraction of a second. So what 5 years ago would take 30, 40 minutes, we can do now in a second or two. And I think doing a lot of that development work, particularly on that system, would be a really good use of it.
Well, thank you. Do you feel that NOAA has the support to have a sufficient procurement process now to assess the quality data sets and improve the data storage? We talked about going to the cloud and a lot of other things the other day. Do you feel like the procurement system is going to allow NOAA to move in this direction as rapidly as it needs to be?
I mean, so there's an interesting dynamic, I think, unfolding, because a lot of the data that NOAA has is really sought after by private industry. And the data that NOAA has is obviously freely available to the public, but private industry may pay a cloud service provider to crunch the numbers. So when we would process the data on an HPC system and then host it in a data center like a commercial cloud service provider, they're actually offering to host the data for, and sometimes free, petabytes of free storage, and allow to pay for the egress, for the download, because they can also charge industry to process the data.
Right, so that gives you a little more flexibility with that. I'd like to pivot to the storms in Texas and the weather predicting, and obviously I live in an area that is prone to rapid flooding like that, but the tragedy that we see in Texas, like nothing that it's unimaginable for many of us. I think a lot of it, and I think so, the aftermath of community engagement, community warning systems, how can that be improved? How can, and I know not necessarily in that specific area simply because it's probably too early to assess that, but generally speaking, there's still gaps, and I think, I'm sure this is something that you think about. You shared with me that you have a 9-year-old and 11-year-old daughter, I believe, so you're feeling this as well. Do you have any comments on that?
So coming from a background of numerical weather prediction, I always thought naively that if I could improve the forecast skill, I would save more lives. And it turns out that it's really the last mile. Even if you have a perfect forecast, if you can't get the information to the people, it's totally useless. And so having a way to distribute the watches and warnings, and particularly in regions that don't have good cell coverage,
right,
I think there's an opportunity to modernize NOAA weather radio, and then potentially also look at some satellite capabilities, some CubeSat-based data transmission. That wasn't really an option a couple of years ago. And so I think probably an all-the-above approach and modernizing the way to distribute these watches and warnings is something that is going to be a top priority of mine.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Senator Lujan, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to my brothers from Texas, my deepest condolences for all that's happened and for all the lives that have been lost and families that have been impacted, and to everyone that has been on the ground with all those first responders, all the volunteers just helping those families. As my colleagues may know, unfortunately in New Mexico yesterday, the Rio Ruidoso rose to nearly 20 feet in a matter of minutes amid heavy rainfall, sweeping away homes, if you can believe that, in the flows. And we've already lost loved ones out that way. This is an area that was also ravaged by wildfire not too long ago, as we've all had conversations about what needs to be done with FEMA and others with wildfire and then the flooding that follows for years and years to follow. Now, today we have witnesses that hope to serve at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration with NOAA, which oversees the National Weather Service, which provides critical forecasting data that Americans rely on to protect their lives. We also know that emergency alerts and the work of NOAA and the National Weather Service does save lives. I appreciate your response, Dr. Jacobs, to the question from Senator Capito. However, Project 2025 has outlined a plan to commercialize the forecasting, which would force American taxpayers to pay private companies to access weather forecasts. Dr. Jacobs and Mr. Jordan, yes or no, do you think Americans should have to pay to access forecasting data to protect the safety of their families and homes from natural disasters? Dr. Jacobs?
No, I think that that's an essential service that all Americans deserve.
Mr. Jordan?
I agree, no.
Dr. Jacobs, in late May, I sent a letter to the National Weather Service along with several of my colleagues regarding the National Weather Service's decision to discontinue translations of weather alerts and forecasts into languages other than English. Those services have now been restored. This created a dangerous gap in access to emergency information for those nearly 68 million people in the United States that speak a language other than English at home. Yes or no, do you agree that people deserve to get emergency alerts in the language that they can understand?
Yes.
Yes or no, do you commit to ensuring that this lapse in translation doesn't happen again?
If confirmed, making sure that the watches and warnings go out and they're understood is definitely a priority.
Appreciate that. On September 1st, 2019, when you were NOAA's acting administrator, President Trump erroneously tweeted that Alabama had been hit hard by Hurricane Dorian. Shortly after, the National Weather Service Birmingham office issued the accurate statement, quote, Alabama will not see any impacts from Dorian. 3 days later, President Trump went on TV and displayed a weather map altered with a black Sharpie line to show that Dorian would hit Alabama. 2 days after that, you helped draft a release, an unsigned NOAA statement rebuking the Birmingham NWS and repeating President Trump's baseless claim that Hurricane Dorian could impact Alabama. You told the Department of Commerce Office of Inspector General in their investigation that you, quote, definitely felt like our jobs were on the line, close quote. And while you did not like it, you would make the same decision again to edit a less inflammatory statement as the least bad option. Mr. Jacobs, or Dr. Jacobs, do I have it right? Is that correct?
That's what the IG report found, yes.
That you would do nothing differently?
I mean, there's probably some things I would do differently, and there's a lot of things that I did after that to, I guess, change any potential future outcome. One of them was revamp.
Let me ask this question, because I just had constituents die in New Mexico. We had constituents die in Texas. Would you sign off on an inaccurate statement due to political pressure in the same event, yes or no?
No.
I appreciate that very much. Mr. Kumar, Congress appropriated over $68 million.
The confirmation hearing in front of the Senate Commerce Committee continuing to go on right now. You heard Senator Ben Ray Lujan, a Democrat from New Mexico, just asking Neil Jacobs, the NOAA administrator nominee, about his role in what has kind of become known as Sharpiegate from the first Trump administration. They talked about privatization, improving community warning systems, AI, and how that could be used with the weather prediction and other things at NOAA, and a number of other topics as this confirmation hearing continues right here on Capitol Hill. Let's go ahead and take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this. And when we do, we're going to hear from some lawmakers expressing concerns about the proposed cuts to NOAA staff and research funding. So we're going to take a quick break here on Fox Local and on YouTube, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning here live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Some Democratic lawmakers from across the country, including several from Florida, today criticizing proposed cuts to NOAA staff and funding. So we know that the fiscal year 2026 proposals include some cuts to NOAA facilities, some research divisions as well. We also know that this comes as the National Weather Service, which falls under that, lost about 600 employees through DOGE cuts and voluntary departures. Some of these lawmakers speaking today claims that NOAA overall lost about 2,000 employees total. And so there are concerns from these lawmakers, they say, about impacts to alert systems, some other things ahead of kind of the peak of hurricane season. We heard from Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a Democrat representing Florida's 25th district in South Florida, talking about her concerns about this and saying it would be impossible for local and state governments to fill whatever gaps may be created by some of these cuts. I want to play for you as she and others kind of lay out some of what their worries are with some of these potential cuts that have been proposed.
I want to express my deepest sympathies to all the Texas flood victims and their families, and I deeply appreciate and admire all the rescuers and volunteers out still looking for survivors. This was every parent and family's nightmare. The stories have been tragic and horrific, and I just cannot imagine being in the situation that these victims and their families find themselves in. Obviously, in South Florida, living in Hurricane Alley, we have had our share of tragedy and know what it is like to get hit with a natural disaster of the strength of these floods. And it's still early, but it appears that the National Weather Service did its job, but communications over the last mile to those communities appears to have fallen short. Time and rigorous oversight will tell us more. What this tragedy showed us right away, though, is how we absolutely must have cutting-edge weather research and the strongest forecasting tools and experts at hand. But under the Trump administration, that's not happening. Instead, Trump is hell-bent on gutting, degrading, and setting our weather research and storm warning systems up for failure. And it's all very intentional. NOAA facilities in South and Central Florida are currently understaffed by 20 to 40%. John Morales, the most senior meteorologist in South Florida, raised doubts on air that he may be unable to provide accurate forecasts due to a lack of critical data. If Trump continues to push expert NOAA, NWS, and FEMA staff out the door through layoffs and forced retirements, people will needlessly die. Just look at the billionaire bailout bill Trump just signed. It cancels $200 million more for improved weather forecasting and community resiliency projects, which will only make our natural disasters worse. If we fail to bolster our weather emergency infrastructure amid worsening climate change, more people will needlessly die. Americans want better government, not a gutted government, and certainly not no government at all. But that's what Trump is pushing on America. And I say pushing it on us because no one voted for this. Voters told Republicans to quickly lower household costs. Instead, Trump, with the acquiescence of Republicans in Congress, signed the One Big Ugly bill into law that poll after poll said no one wants. Trump is now proposing cutting an additional $2.2 billion from NOAA and to eliminate the Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research, NOAA's main research arm. The laboratory in Miami provides the models and scientific backbone that we use to forecast storm intensity and paths. This is a generational loss for public safety and science. Shuttering more than 24 world-class weather and climate labs, which Trump has proposed, risks losing 75 years of research history. And mind you, we're reminding Trump and Republicans of all of this in the middle of hurricane season.
As a former mayor of West Palm Beach, I know what it's like to face weather disaster. I led my city through 4 hurricanes and saw firsthand the power of nature and the life-saving importance of early warning systems. We had roofs blown off, power out for weeks, roads blocked, and even one hurricane, we completely lost our water system, our 911 system. But thankfully, no lives were lost, and that's because we had 2 or 3 days notice, advance warning from NOAA. the backbone of our nation's weather system. And NOAA can do, and they did what our local and state governments simply cannot do. They use satellites, radar, aircraft. They track storms, and they issue watches and warnings coordinating with FEMA and our local officials. And because of the NOAA warnings, we were able to evacuate people early from high-risk areas. Families put up their storm shutters. They stocked up on food and water. Dangerous debris was removed from streets. Flashlights and batteries and backup supplies were ready. Emergency contractors were put on standby to remove fallen trees. Without those alerts, the destruction, the desperation, the injuries, and yes, deaths would have occurred. Without NOAA, we would have been flying blind. Last year, hurricanes again the hurricanes came into Florida. We had Hilton and Milton right here, deadly tornadoes and in Palm Beach County. And NOAA is warning us that yes, this is going to could be a bad hurricane season. And that's why Trump's proposed cuts are not just reckless, they are dangerous. The slashing of over $1 billion, almost $2 billion from NOAA's budget, the firing of people, something like 2,000 NOAA employees have been fired or forced out, including 600 from the National Weather Service. And let me be clear, these cuts threaten the safety, family, and businesses across Florida and our nation. And even though the Commerce Department actually just exempted the National Weather Service from the hiring freeze, and yet jobs still haven't been posted for 126 positions.
I'd like to show a figure of the improvements that have been made. I know this isn't too clear being held up like this, but there have been constant improvements over the years since we started a hurricane forecast improvement project in NOAA. And every year, the errors in our track and our intensity forecasts have been reduced. And this is particularly important because previously there had been no improvement in hurricane intensity forecasting. In forecasting the intensity of hurricanes, where they will make landfall, and being able to extend the forecast lead time on those is extraordinarily important. The elimination of AOML and its cooperative institute at the University of Miami can have a very detrimental effect on hurricane forecasts for our nation. There would be no more scientific support for NOAA's Hurricane Hunter missions, as well as for airborne drones and ocean gliders. All of this expertise exists in the Hurricane Research Division and the Physical Oceanography divisions of AOML. As a result, vital data would no longer be assimilated into hurricane models or be available to forecasters and researchers. In addition, there would be a halt in the development and improvement of models like NOAA's state-of-the-art hurricane analysis and forecast system, which produces the most accurate intensity forecasts of any model in the world. It is estimated that this loss, the loss of AOML and its cooperative institute, would result in a 20 to 40% decrease in hurricane forecast accuracy, which would cost the economy more than $10 billion for a single hurricane season if only 2 major hurricanes were to hit the United States. This cost to the economy is 20 times larger than all of the budget cuts to OAR that are proposed. But even more disturbing would be the probability of increased loss of life if hurricane forecast accuracy decreases.
So that was a 20 to 40% reduction, they say, is what they're claiming, and that projections show when it comes to forecast accuracy of hurricanes. That news conference went on for quite a while as those lawmakers and other experts they had with them spoke about that. Meanwhile, the confirmation hearings on Capitol Hill for the new NASA administrator and a couple of other officials with NOAA continues right now as well. We are going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now. And Brooks, we're looking at increasing chances of rain.
We sure are, Garrett. We've got moisture coming in from both directions, from the Gulf and especially from the Atlantic. And so as we get into the weekend, rain chances will become even more prevalent. But I think today you'll notice a higher chance for afternoon thunderstorms, especially Orlando points west. So what's going on right now is that we've got these storms that have been coming in from the Gulf and moving through Alachua, Marion, Levy, Dixie counties. That southern trajectory will slowly progress, then stall, and probably park in northern Lake County. So a couple of storms possible around lunchtime, but most of the action is going to come in from the sea breeze on the Atlantic side, getting here late this afternoon. So over the next 12 hours, we'll go from 85 degrees, where we currently stand, up to about 94 for a high today, and that'll happen close to 5 p.m. There will be a 40% chance for storms, so we're not going for a huge likelihood region-wide, but our best chance looks to be probably north and west of Orlando, where it's probably pushing towards 60% chance. But here's how it works out with future clouds and radar. So it's all about the interaction of the Atlantic sea breeze that'll be pushing toward the north and toward the west, and the Gulf sea breeze that'll be pushing in toward the east. And where that collision occurs, whether it's over Orlando or maybe just east of town, will determine where the best rain chances are. And the latest computer models are suggesting that thunderstorms today will likely happen west of I-95, and there could be a little concentration of them around Orlando and Sanford, southward through St. Cloud and Kissimmee, and they'll linger through the evening, maybe popping up a little bit later around 8 or 9 o'clock on the coastline, maybe up around Volusia, Flagler counties, before they die out. But this is the name of the game here in July in Central Florida. It's all about where the storms begin and then where they go, determined a lot of times by boundaries and sea breezes and where other thunderstorms have formed. So it's kind of a random thing, but there is a chance today around the region. We're going to top out at 94 in Orlando, 93 in Bushnell, and 92 in Titusville. The heat index is going to feel, well, it's going to feel like it's about 107 in Bushnell, about 103 in Orlando. So make sure you listen to your body. If you start feeling a little bit out of sync, just take a little break in the AC. Make sure you drink a lot of water. Speaking of water, our rain chances going from 40% today to a 70% chance Saturday and Sunday. The tropics right now are quiet. We've got no tropical activity expected for the next week, but there are signs that at the end of next week and into the week to follow, roughly from July 16th through about the 24th, there may be some tropical development in the Gulf. There's a greater than 20% chance of that as a stationary front parks across the northern Gulf and low pressure may develop along it. But there's a lot of ifs, and it's way too soon to make anything that would be a semblance of a call on if a storm is going to form, much less how it'll look and where it'll go. But this time of year, if storms do form in this basin, they can typically be just big rainmakers and can cause flooding wherever they track. The flow, by the way, would likely push whatever develops toward the west, thanks to the Bermuda High, so maybe Florida wouldn't be so much in play, but I mean, we'll have to see where and if it forms, if it even comes together. That would be toward the end of next week and beyond. So let's talk 7-day forecast. For the rest of this week, we'll see an increase in rain chances toward the weekend, and then ultimately a 70% chance from Saturday right through the middle of next week, with just a typical rainy season setup, however, enhanced by the addition of moisture coming in from the Atlantic, from the Bahamas. So it's going to be a little surge of tropical air to really juice those storms starting this weekend. So a pretty dynamic setup, Garrett, but this is the time of year everything's kind of steady with low 90s and a similar rain chance every day, but there's always that specter of a tropical development potential.
Yeah, certainly something to keep an eye on as we get closer. So we appreciate you letting us know about that. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner, thanks for joining us this morning.
My pleasure as always. Thanks, Garrett.
And here's a live look at downtown Orlando on this Wednesday morning. We know that some firefighters from here in Central Florida, including Orange County, Seminole County as well, are heading to Texas to help with recovery efforts there. This is Florida Task Force 4, and they are ready to join crews today to help sift through the debris. We heard a little bit about kind of what some of those operations are looking like on the ground there in Texas in that news conference just a little bit ago. A crew from Central Florida from this task force headed out yesterday. One of those members joined GDO this morning on their way to Texas to talk about it.
Todd, let's talk first about where you are. I know you're currently on the road and headed there. How far have you gotten in the journey?
We are just outside of Lake Charles now. We started Lake Charles, Louisiana. We started out yesterday morning about 7 o'clock. We were able to stop for a couple hours last night, and we're continuing to move toward Kerrville right now.
What are your priorities once you get to Kerr County and Kerrville?
Our priorities there are going to be to assist the first responders and the boots already on ground. They've been very busy and taxed both physically and emotionally since the start of this event, and we're just there to help them out and help out the citizens there to wade through all of this disaster.
Yeah, it is going to be a very time-consuming process. It likely will take months, maybe even years. And Todd, I imagine that the Texans, the ones who have been there since July 4th, are probably exhausted. So your biggest role will be to give them some relief?
Yes, ma'am. That's our whole goal, is to get there and be able to assist them in the things that they've been doing. Again, physically and emotionally, they're completely worn out at this point.
Of course, the hope, Todd, is recovery, right? The hope is that you will find some of these 160 missing alive. But you do have a dog with you as well, a canine. How will the dog help in your search of finding victims?
Well, we're actually bringing 2 dogs with us, and they are both trained to look for people that have been buried in rubble piles or lost in wide areas of woods and forests. So we'll be using them to track people down. They'll alert on the scent of a human forest, and we'll be able to hopefully dig out some victims.
Yeah, prayers for that. And Todd, how long do you anticipate you will be there?
We're not real sure how long we're going to be. We were deployed with the intent of being gone for 2 weeks. So hopefully it doesn't take that long, but we will be there as long as they require us.
Wow. And as far as Todd set up for where you will stay while you're there, do they have something already set up for you?
We carry all of our own stuff with us. We have tents and command posts that we take with us. It's a huge convoy. We're driving across the states here. That's what takes so long to get there. But we are prepared to support ourselves in the event that they don't have anything set up for us.
Talking about those efforts and just the latest numbers that we have to update. 118 dead in the state. That's according to the governor. According to those officials in Kerr County, 95 people dead there. 161 still missing there as well. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I want to get you back live inside this confirmation hearing in Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are questioning the several new officials who are nominated to high-ranking positions in NOAA. Just a few minutes ago, we heard, so this is, just to set this up for you, Senator John Hickenlooper, a Democrat from Colorado, who is now speaking with that is Taylor Jordan, nominated for an assistant secretary position. Just a minute ago, before we came back from break, Senator Hickenlooper asked Neil Jacobs, who is nominated for NOAA administrator, about his dedication to warning systems and maintaining those. And he said if he's confirmed, he would certainly, do that. Let's go ahead and listen back in as this confirmation hearing continues with more questions for Dr. Jacobs.
First of all, the sounding data, there are other instruments that NOAA operates, from AMSUA, ATMS. I think what's probably of more interest in the hurricane forecasting community is the imager data, so the microwave imagers. Right. So there's a follow-on program to this. It's my understanding, and again, I'm not in the agency yet, but I still know a lot of this because I work with the community. The follow-on program, they already have an asset on orbit. It's producing data. I believe NOAA is going to get access to that pretty soon. Right. I also think that there's potentially other capabilities out there. So there's, like, the European Space Agency has some of these assets as well. Right. So data sharing. So yeah, it's extremely important.
Appreciate that, and I'm out of time, but I do want to, I won't be able to come back for a second round of questions, but I'm going to submit in writing some of the questions about the cooperative institutes that you guys all work with that I think are so important. We have a couple, Colorado State University, University of Colorado, where you've got the institutions and graduate students and PhDs all working together, kind of helping you expand your effort. And then also the fire weather test bed that NOAA has, based in Denver, to increase wildfire resilience by researching and doing all that work around wildfire. So God bless you all for all your work. It is so crucial to the safety and of most of our, well, all of our country. I yield back to the chair.
Thank you. Senator Fetterman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, Dr. Jacobs. Hi. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I'm sure you're familiar with Lake Erie. You know, I love Erie. Erie is a very special part of my state, and now for me, Lake Erie is such incredibly important economic engine and major cultural amenity for Pennsylvania. Tourism in Erie brings in over $1.2 billion and supports more than 15,000 jobs. And now for me, the tourism, it's driven because of the beauty. If anyone here in the room's ever been to Presque Island, and it's one of the most remarkable parks in the country. And I'm not saying that as just a booster, I'm saying that it actually is true. And my family swims in Lake Erie, so we have a lot of skin in that game too. So protecting and making Erie more and more clean and pure. So for me, the NOAA's Office of National Marine Sanctuaries is working to designate Lake Erie as a national marine sanctuary. And of course, I fully support that, and know people that live in Erie support that. And today I was just asking to see if you support that or would like to commit or work with my office to see this happen quickly.
If confirmed, I'd love to work with you in your office on that.
That's wonderful. And then now, some people, maybe my colleagues, may not be aware of lake effect snow. So I'm an amateur. So I would describe it as when colder air sweeps over warmer water of Lake Erie, and that can drop 3 feet of snow really in a short amount of time. Is that inaccurate?
Your science is correct.
Yeah.
It's heat flux driven.
Yeah. So for me, and now if you live in Erie, 18 inches doesn't even make the news, really, rarely. And I mean, I live in Pittsburgh. We don't even, it's so different. It's very, very specific to that region because of lake effect snow. And if you're from Arizona, you're like, have no idea what that means. but I remember there was one Christmas time that I think 55 inches dumped on Erie quickly in about 24 to 36 hours. So of course, NOAA is very important. So for me, and it's been brought to my attention that the National Weather Service that oversees Erie doesn't have a meteorologist. I believe that. So for me, even if it's like a part-time thing, I think it's reasonable when you can have 3 feet of snow from those things. So I'm just seeing perhaps I support having a meteorologist, even part-time from a savings perspective for there. So just if you have any thoughts.
I don't know the exact staffing levels at your office, but I'll definitely get back to you on the numbers. And if confirmed, I definitely commit to making sure it's staffed up.
Yeah, great. That's great. And I yield. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Markey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For decades, NOAA has collected and made public information on how many extreme weather-related disasters caused by more than $1 billion worth of damage. In the 1980s, the U.S. experienced a weather or climate disaster that caused more than $1 billion in damage every 4 months, on average. Now, in our climate change era, our communities are hit by a disaster of that magnitude on average by every 3 weeks. So, Dr. Jacobs, I appreciated our conversation on this yesterday. Do you stand by your statement that you made to me yesterday that NOAA's data on billion-dollar disasters should be made available to the public?
So the data that NOAA collects to produce that, yes, I think that's a really important thing.
No, thank you. And that's great to hear. Back in May, the Trump administration announced that it was going to start burying that information and stop informing the public about the cost of weather disasters. And I appreciate your commitment. The administration is fighting disasters the only way they know how, by denying they even exist. And the only problem solved by burying weather data is the Trump administration's PR problem. But that's all that's buried. The actual information should be out there so the public can see how much worse these storms are as each decade is unfolding. So Dr. Jacobs, do you think that climate-focused research, data, and grant programs are relevant to NOAA's mission to understand the health of coastal and marine resources and predict marine environments?
Well, weather, water, and climate is essential to NOAA's mission. It's a fundamental part of it. And so data along the coastline obviously is critical to that.
So I'm glad that we agree on that. So do you support the efforts to collect and understand regional climate data, which is so important for developing the forecast that our farmers and other small business owners use to make decisions every single day?
Well, essentially all data is regional at some level.
Right, I know that, but do you agree that there should be a continuation of the collection of the data?
Collecting of data, observations is a core essential to NOAA's mission.
Yeah, so, and that's absolutely critical as well, because it's too bad that President Trump's budget uses the exact language on climate research as a justification to kill that exact program at NOAA. And frankly, I'm shocked that an agenda that that would, cause such problems could even be talked about in the era that we're in right now. Dr. Jacobs, the Trump administration wants to cut NOAA's budget by 27%. No climate, weather, Sea Grant, Ocean Labs, many other programs exempted. Dr. Jacobs, yes or no, do you support these cuts?
Yes, I support the president's budget.
Dr. Jacobs, do these cuts improve the weather readiness of our country?
The cuts I believe you're referring to, a lot of that work is being transitioned in from the research side to the operations side. So the National Weather, their mission essential functions will continue.
I have a disagreement with you. A 27% cut is going to have an impact because there's a definite ripple effect that occurs when that kind of funding is slashed, because of weather readiness without funding is an hallucination. You can't cut something by 27% even as the storms are enhanced as each year goes by without having that additional capacity. So I do not agree with you on that issue. And finally, Mr. Jordan, in 2012, Senator Inhofe wrote a book called The Greatest Hoax: How the Global Warming Conspiracy Threatens Your Future.
Senate Commerce Committee continuing its confirmation hearings of new nominees to lead NOAA. We appreciate you joining us on Fox 35 News Plus this morning. I'll be back at 2 o'clock with Florida Live, or sooner if needed. But in the meantime, we are going to keep this hearing going as we hear more conversation and questioning of these nominees to head the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and some of these new leaders that have been nominated by President Trump. So let's go ahead and we'll listen back in here on Fox Local and on YouTube.
That's about it. No, I appreciate that. But if you want to be a comedian, you should maybe go to open mic night at the local club, because this is serious business. And the greatest hoax is not in any way a joke. It's an attempt to undermine legitimate climate science, undermine those who lead on weather, those who lead on protecting our oceans. So it just says to me that all the rest of us have to get more serious if the greatest hoax is your handle, because that is not where our country should be. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I wanted to start by taking a moment of personal privilege to say I heard your remarks about your visit to Camp Mystic, and they were heartfelt, closing with the Hunt store, which is now Hunt Strong. I just want to let you know that our prayers, my prayers, go out to all the folks impacted by the tragedy in Kerr County and throughout Central Texas.
And may I say, I should have led with that as well. I heard your comments. Brilliant and heartfelt. Thank you.
Dr. Jacobs, Wisconsin feels the impact of increasingly severe weather events like flooding, tornadoes, and drought. And NOAA weather and satellite services are more important now than ever. In particular, farmers in Wisconsin depend upon the agency's data to decide when to plant. And our shipping and fishing industries rely on it to plan safe routes and travel schedules. NOAA data is vital for the safety and economic security across the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. So if confirmed, will you commit to reversing the gutting of NOAA's weather resources by restoring satellite services and staffing in particular?
If confirmed, definitely making sure staffing is a top priority, and also satellite data, both the procurement of it, access to it, utilization of it is also essential top priority.
Thank you. And thank you for our meeting prior to this hearing today. I wanted to put on the record something we talked about. So if confirmed, will you ensure that high-quality weather and climate data remains both freely and publicly accessible to everyone that relies on it?
Thank you for the question. Yes, if confirmed, it's my belief that this data should be readily accessible by the public.
I want to take a moment to recognize the incredible network of Wisconsin organizations that partner with NOAA to protect the Great Lakes, including the Wisconsin Sea Grant, the National Estuarine Research Reserve System, the Coastal Management Program, the Marine Sanctuary Program, and many more. These programs operate on incredibly small, tight budgets while delivering enormous environmental and economic returns. And I would like to thank the people who lead this work in my home state of Wisconsin. Dr. Jacobs, the Great Lakes are a vital resource, not just for industry, but for the 40 million people who rely on them for their drinking water. NOAA plays a major role in protecting the lakes alongside its federal, state, tribal, and local partners from invasive species, from flooding, and harmful algal blooms. If confirmed, will you work on restoring and fully funding coastal programs that most impact our Great Lakes, including the Sea Grant, the Coastal Zone Management Program, the Estuarine Research Program, and marine sanctuaries that are doing this work right on the ground every day?
Thank you for the question. If confirmed, would love to work with you on this going forward. I actually went home last night and read up on lampreys after our conversation.
And what did you learn?
Stuff I didn't really want to think about.
Same here.
These are obviously very, very important to you and your state as well as to NOAA, and I would look forward to working with you on this.
Very good. Mr. Kumar, I am concerned that the President's fiscal year 26 budget proposal eliminates funding for the EDA, which among many other critical functions runs the Tech Hub program that was enacted through the bipartisan CHIPS and Science Act. As we discussed, Wisconsin has a tech hub focused on personalized medicine and biohealth technology, key areas for improving patient care and competing with China. The future of the Tech Hub program is too important to leave in question. So will you commit to keeping Congress updated on Commerce's plans for the Tech Hub program, and will you be responsive when we have questions?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and I enjoyed our discussion yesterday on this topic. I know the Secretary sees this as a very important program. And yes, if confirmed, I'm committed to working with you and ensuring the EDA team works with you to ensure you and your office have all the necessary information on tech hubs.
And just to reiterate, the EDA program is proposed to be closed, so it'll be hard to have them be the ones to be of contact. I need to know from you that you will keep Congress informed of where it's rehoused if that is a successful proposal on the part of the President.
Absolutely. If confirmed, I will work with you in your office.
Okay, and I'd like to close by reiterating my frustration with the lack of communication from the Commerce Department regarding dismantling of the Minority Business Development Agency. It's really unacceptable that the Secretary has been unresponsive to Congress as he takes away the resources for small businesses that we built up on a bipartisan basis. So if you're confirmed, I sincerely hope this will change.
Thank you. Dr. Jacobs, President Trump has made it a national priority to expand offshore oil and gas production. NOAA plays a key role in reviewing permits and issuing authorizations under the Marine Mammal Protection Act and other laws. If you're confirmed, how will you improve the efficiency of the offshore permitting process, particularly when it comes to environmental reviews under NEPA or the MMPA?
Thank you for the question, Senator. If confirmed, I'll work with the White House to find efficiencies to unlock America's energy potential, consistent with the executive order of Unleashing American Energy.
Mr. Jordan, a persistent challenge within NOAA has been the siloed structure of its line offices, which has resulted in research projects stalling or never transitioning into operational use. NOAA must close the gap between research and operations in order to give the public and decision makers more timely and actionable information. How would you accelerate the research to operations timeline at NOAA and foster greater collaboration across line offices?
Thank you for the question, Senator. So moving the research closer to the operational sister line offices of NOAA would be important to take that research from OAR, where it currently exists now, and moving it to the Weather Service or the National Ocean Service. The closeness with the operational end user, the outcome of that data will foster greater collaboration and innovation. And you also get that feedback loop of research to operations, operations to research. The operations really should be driving what the research is focusing on.
Dr. Jacobs, we have seen a pattern of dual-engine flameouts caused by water and hail ingestion when aircraft descend into severe storms. Unlike commercial jets, NOAA's hurricane hunters use turboprops, which are less vulnerable because they do not pull water directly into the engines. Can you and the Department of Commerce commit to working with the FAA to ensure that a future improved hurricane hunter fleet uses appropriate technology to prevent deadly incidents?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I spent many years in the aviation industry. The turboprops operate differently. They essentially aren't affected by the air-fuel ratio, and that's what helps them in saturated environments, and would definitely commit to working with the FAA on this issue.
Great. Hurricanes have also been known to pick up entire homes off their foundations. How big would a drone need to be to navigate through a hurricane, and to your knowledge, is such a drone available?
Well, I think, well, thank you for the question. There's probably two capabilities. One would be flying against the wind and one flying with the wind. So for the last couple of years, one of the things that NOAA's been doing is deploying small drones inside of the hurricane to fly around, but they're a foot or two long. There's other potential opportunities to fly above the hurricane and deploy things through the hurricane. I think it's to be determined if we can actually fly one through the hurricane, but I have been in conversations with a couple of companies that are interested in potentially testing some capabilities.
And in your judgment, what are the benefits of artificial intelligence for improving weather forecasting?
The primary benefit, in my opinion, is computational efficiency. Even if the artificial intelligence can't do something better, if it can do it faster and more efficiently, I think it's worth using.
Okay. Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jacobs, looking forward to meeting with you. And I missed a lot of the hearing because we're marking up the defense bill, but I want to look forward to working with you, particularly on NOAA's jobs. In my state, in Alaska, NOAA does really, really important work. And I've appreciated the Trump administration's executive order on restoring American seafood competitiveness. You know, and I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, good, okay. But my point is, if you don't do the surveys, then the science is kind of crimped, and people say, well, we're not sure what you can do, and it limits their ability to actually go fish. So I want your view on that. I'm sure Senator Cantwell's already hit you up on it, but this is so important, and I'm a little concerned that the Department of Commerce under Secretary Lutnick is not doing it either, and it's unacceptable. You guys got to commit to me, and don't do like Biden did. They got all this money, and then they never did surveys either. They did all their other stuff. I don't know what the hell they did with the money, but commit to me on this right now, because it's really important. This is going to be a main part of your job. In, first 6 months, I've been really concerned. And gosh darn it, we're not asking a lot. Do the science, do the surveys. During COVID, people were making up, oh, we can't go out, it's too dangerous. No, go do the surveys. Can you talk a little about that and make a commitment to me and my fishermen that you will get out and do the damn surveys, right? It's really, again, we don't ask for much. It's basic blocking and tackling that NOAA is supposed to do. And I don't know why it's a problem right now. It shouldn't be a problem in the Trump administration. I need you to focus on it and commit to me right now to do it.
Thank you for the question. So if confirmed, absolutely. Stock assessments and surveys is a top priority. We wouldn't be competitive in the seafood industry if we don't do those, because understanding, for example, the status of pollock stock is essential for setting the quotas. And I understand and appreciate your concerns, and if confirmed, very, very high priority.
Good. I appreciate that. We have a lot of issues. The bycatch issue is an issue. I was just up on the Yukon River. There's no fishing again on the Yukon. I was up, my wife's family has a fish camp on the Yukon River. There was no king fishing again. We need to get to the bottom of what's happening to our salmon runs. I had legislation, my Alaska Salmon Research Task Force Act, which was passed. NOAA did some good work, but we have some runs in Alaska that are doing great. Bristol Bay, Sockeye Run, other iconic runs in Alaska, king runs on the Yukon, the Kuskokwim. They're cratering, and that really hurts people. More than just food security, it's culture for our native communities. Can you commit to me to continue to work, getting the best science, the best minds on why we are seeing in certain parts of Alaska these dramatic crashes in our salmon runs and why that's happening, and take action to help us return to what everybody in Alaska and America wants, strong, vibrant salmon runs?
Thank you for the question. Absolutely. If confirmed, we'll commit to working on this. This is something that I've been wondering about for a while, because we do fund a lot of this restoration, and a lot of these stocks don't seem to be improving. Yeah. And it's deeply concerning.
Well, and there's a gap in the research, right? That's one of the things that, it's a long story, but the salmon live out in the ocean most of their life, but the research from the feds is actually not focused on salmon. Alaska, the state, focuses on salmon research, but within the rivers, not out in the big ocean. We need more research on what's happening to the salmon as they live out in the ocean for most of their lives, and that's where NOAA could be very helpful. Can I get your commitment on that as well?
Yes, definitely commit to working with you on this.
And then finally, and I do want to compliment Secretary Lutnick and his team, President Trump and his team, on their executive order on seafood competitiveness. That was really welcomed. It was a really good EO. We got to work together to implement it. But the other thing I just need your commitment on, and Secretary Lutnick's been great on this, the unfair, unbalanced trade relationship that we have had, particularly with Russia and China. What do I mean? Russia banned the importation of American seafood in 2014. Zero fish from America could go to Russia. And we, for whatever reason, for the last decade, have let them import as much fish as they want. That is crushing our fishermen, fishing communities. Finally, 2 years ago, under the Biden administration, I give them credit, they blocked the importation of Russian seafood. Then the Russians sent it to China. to have it laundered in China, and we close that loophole, right? And the Trump administration, to their credit, has been really good about keeping that ban on the importation of Russian seafood, regardless of where they send it for secondary head gutting and filleting. But I need your commitment to continue to that and work with us. We just had a really good hearing on IUU fishing, where the Chinese, the Russians, they have no standards, they use slave labor. And we need your help to work on those issues as well. Can I get your commitment on those?
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You know, Dr. Jacobs, you have spent decades as a redfish fishing guide on the Atlantic. I do have to ask, in following up my friend Senator Sullivan's questions, have you been salmon fishing in Alaska?
I have.
Good. That was the right answer, and it is extraordinary. I have too.
That was the right answer.
And it is a unique and beautiful place.
Well, maybe when you come up to Alaska, the chairman and we can host you for some more fishing out there.
I would looking forward to it.
And since he's a guide, we may do better with him along.
That's right. Good.
Ranking Member Cantwell.
Thank you, Chairman, and I do want to echo my colleague from Alaska's. I did, you're right, bring it up in my earlier questioning about stock assessments, but I want to echo again, our industries are just chasing a never-ending, go-around, right? But it all starts with stock assessments as a really basic information, and then making sure that we play a more aggressive role internationally to stop the Russians and Chinese for collaborating and impacting our fisheries. So very much appreciate your comments on that. So I'd like to follow on with, do you think we should have a NOAA Organic Act? Would that help in persevering and preserving stock assessments in a more robust way?
I thank you for the question. I believe NOAA's long overdue to have its mission authorized in statute, so very much support.
Great, thank you. Do you support the reauthorization? Do you support the Weather Act reauthorization?
Yes.
Okay. Do you support replacing a Northwest Fisheries Science Center? When Senator Sullivan was talking about all of these issues, I remember the whole Canadian, threat to salmon and all the work that we do at that NOAA facility in Seattle. Do we need to replace that or make sure it still exists?
If I remember correctly, this was an issue when I was at NOAA last time, and it was something we were working on, and I believe there was discussion of potentially working with the university or something.
Yep. I think it just needs to take the final step, so I just
yeah,
want to make sure
I would love to work with you on that if confirmed.
Great. Do you support tribal government consultation?
I do.
Great. I do think that's something that, is not an ongoing effort. We get it. We understand it with 29 tribes in the Northwest. We get what tribal to government consultation, government to government consultation means. But I do think from time to time agencies forget this, and certainly I think even in the last administration they forgot this. So hopefully you can help restore that. I understand my colleague asked about the budget cuts, which you said you supported the 27% budget cut to NOAA. Is that correct? So how do you keep your science mission, and particularly in atmospheric and oceanic areas, how do you keep that science mission if we're cutting that budget when in reality that's a core part of your mission?
Appreciate the question. It's a lot of these priorities, particularly weather forecasting and things we've been discussing all day. Some of that's being transferred to the Weather Service. It's my hope for certain things that we're looking at to basically fulfill the mission requirements of the forecasting capabilities, that the Weather Service takes over a lot of that. Some other aspects transferred to the Ocean Service.
Okay, so you think that the missions are going to be preserved, just preserved somewhere else?
Yes, it's my objective to make sure that NOAA fulfills their mission requirements.
Great, I'm glad you said that, and we had a discussion earlier where you were saying, no, these people need to be on the ground. You can't replace people on the ground, so you have to have people that are implementing, understanding the local regional dynamic on weather, and also implementing an action plan basically getting first responders, everybody to help and implement that based off that data. So very much appreciate that answer. But in this, it just reminds me, Boeing said, well, we're gonna get rid of all these safety inspectors. We're gonna get rid of like 300 safety inspectors. Why? Because that was their main job, and we can just self-certify our work. Well, that didn't turn out very well because they missed a lot. Because it turned out that those safety people actually were doing something really critically important. In fact, they tried to automate parts of it, and that turned out to be a disaster, and so they changed it. So I'm cautioning you, and I don't agree with the Trump administration proposal on cutting these programs. I think there are essential scientific search information. I'm all for elevating the game. I have been for years, elevating with more supercomputing and certainly using, I think one of the things that we can do is get better information so that forecast is 2 weeks in advance. Or why are we cutting these weather balloons? I mean, the fact that the weather balloon is there to tell you the amount of moisture and the condition of the atmosphere. Why was that so important for us with fires? Because the land was getting so dry, a lightning strike that may not have caused a problem, now all of a sudden causes a problem. So the critical nature changed, and we had to understand that. So I hope that we're not thinking that we're just going to like put weather up here in some big, oh, we have this really great way of getting information like from the private sector or somehow, and we're not going to play this critical role. I don't know, Mr. Jordan, you're shaking your head or nodding, so I don't know if you have a thought on this, but we can't just shift these resources somewhere else. We have to own them. NOAA has to own them. They have to own weather forecasting. We need it to be better, but we can't transfer some of it out and then say that's somebody else. Mr. Jordan.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide a comment. So I agree. I was shaking my head in agreement with you. Yes, the weather forecasting is very important. America has a robust American private weather industry that really amplifies the work that NOAA does, but it is very important for NOAA to do its weather forecasting mission.
Okay, well, how do we preserve that in a budget?
I believe looking at the budget, again, not at NOAA, looking at it from the outside, I see the Weather Service mission, the line office, is preserved.
But what about all the work they do to understand?
Within the Weather Service?
Yes.
The budget, I believe, funds the Weather Service.
Okay, so I'm talking about the R&D office of the Oceanic and that research group.
Understood. Sorry for the
Okay.
confusion. And as Dr. Jacobs said, looking at the budget again, not having the conversations with the folks inside about what's happening, but it looks like the transition of some of that work is happening from OAR to the Weather Service.
Yeah, I think this is where we're probably
Taylor. Congratulations.
Jim, I work with UNC that week down in Wilmington, so I'm forward to working with you. Yeah.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning live on Fox Local and on YouTube. The story of the morning is weather. I am showing you three different news conferences, two of which are kind of underway right now, one of which we're waiting to begin. The large picture is in Kerrville, Texas, where we know it bared the brunt of terrible and devastating flooding over July 4th weekend there. We know more than 100 people have died in flooding in Texas, and there are a lot of questions about where things go from here as recovery efforts continue, still resources pouring into that area. We expect an update from Kerrville officials in just a minute. On the bottom left, you see Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and some other officials as well talking about their concerns about proposed cuts to NOAA, facilities, to research divisions, to staffing, things that are in proposals for fiscal year 2026. And so Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a couple of other of Florida's congressional delegation, Democrats, Lois Frankel and Sheila Cherfilis McCormick have been speaking out about that, joined by some former scientists at NOAA. And meanwhile, if you look at the top left, this is a confirmation hearing going on live right now on Capitol Hill. That is where there are three people, including Neil Jacobs, who is on the left. You're looking at Taylor Jordan right now, and then on the right there is Harry Kumar. They are officials who have been nominated for undersecretary and assistant secretary positions with NOAA. And so they are being asked about the importance of early warnings and notifications, and also have been asked a number of questions about these cuts that some worry could threaten the mission of NOAA. But let's go ahead and listen in here at the beginning of this briefing in Kerrville as it gets underway, and then we'll take you to Capitol Hill after that.
During 5 campers and 1 counselor. Officials report there are 161 missing people in Kerr County area. Community members are asked not to conduct debris management of their property until directed by law enforcement. There is also a no burn ban in Kerr County at this time till further notice. Let me give you a visual. I know probably all of y'all have been in our community capturing the aftermath of this disaster. But with that said, also take note that Kerr County is 1,100 square miles of beautiful but complex hill country. There are rural areas that may experience extended response times, areas where cell service is spotty, where the area is single lane bridges and low water crossings. Sometimes